Earlier this month, the entire cast of Scream minus Neve Campbell appeared at the Rhode Island Comic-Con and they got real, giving advice and telling stories about the ups and downs of their experiences in the movie business. David Arquette, who famously portrayed Deputy Dewey, told the audience he recently had a failed audition for the upcoming sequel to a movie his fellow panelist Matthew Lillard will be appearing in. More on that later. He said, quote, "One of the last films I auditioned for was the new Five Nights at Freddy's, and I did not get a call back." Skeet Ulrich, who also starred in the iconic film, gave the audience an inspirational message. "We're a group of artists. I'm sure there are many, many artists in the group. I want you to hold that as your success, that you have found what you love to do. Don't hold anybody like Hollywood to your standard of why I'm not successful because I haven't done X, Y, and Z. We all face that battle too." Ulrich's message is especially relevant in an industry where failure can be as public as success. Every actor dreams of starring in a blockbuster film that catapults them to stardom. But what happens when the opposite occurs? When a highly anticipated movie tanks at the box office, the fallout can be devastating for its lead stars.
Get another beer, you want one? Yeah, sure. I'll be right back!
After his breakout role in Scream in 1996, actor Matthew Lillard had reached the top of his profession, earning his highest salary up to that point for Scooby-Doo 2: Monsters Unleashed. But he said in a recent interview with Business Insider that the success was short-lived. "I thought I'd be #1 on the call sheet for the next 10 years of movies, and the reality was the exact opposite happened."
Are you guys okay?
Along with the notorious Catwoman,
Steve says she jumps around like a cat.
Starring Halle Berry, it proved to be a box office disappointment.
This is the most our faultiest screw-up ever, Scoob.
Scooby-Doo 2 flopped so badly that Warner Brothers canceled plans for a third movie. The unexpected failure prompted Lillard to re-examine his priorities. "I was caught up in the success of what I was doing. I was caught up in the parts I was getting. I was caught up in this drive to be quote-unquote famous. I've gone through good patches and bad patches. I've been irrelevant and thought I was never going to work again." He says the career slowdown led him to pursue other interests. "I went back to looking for other things in my life other than just acting." Lillard downsized his lifestyle, getting rid of fancy cars and moved to a smaller home. During this time, he found a newly discovered sense of purpose, teaching acting and starting a liquor company called Find Familiar Spirits, with product inspired by his love of Dungeons and Dragons and horror movies. And he's since returned to the big screen, starring in Five Nights at Freddy's, which ended up grossing $291 million in 2023.
Yes.
He's also signed up for the sequel, which will be released in December 2025. And he says he's very happy with the trajectory of his career. "I've been at all aspects of the career, and I love where I'm at right this second." If it's any consolation to Lillard, actors are being ranked, evaluated, and demoted all the time. From 1915 until it concluded in 2013, the Quigley poll compiled a list of the most bankable stars in Hollywood based on box office performance. The list constantly changed from year to year, and rarely did any one actor remain at the top of the list 2 years in a row. Many other actors have gone through a similar experience to Lillard, including Judge Reinhold. He starred in some of the most successful comedies of the 1980s, including Gremlins and Beverly Hills Cop, and told the LA Times in 1992, "In a 3-year period, I did 3 of the most successful comedies ever made. I had 50-year-old actors coming up to me and saying, 'Do you realize how lucky you are to have one hit like this in your career?' And I said, 'Yeah, sure.' But I didn't really. I took things for granted, but I certainly don't now."
Is there a problem?
His career took a downturn after the troubled release of the 1988 comedy Vice Versa, which he starred in alongside Fred Savage, who played his son.
"You know, I wish I could change places with you."
He told Vanity Fair in June 2024 that he believes the movie's release was intentionally sabotaged by Columbia Pictures executives. The film's fate was sealed when Columbia Pictures rushed like father like son into production.
Chris? Dad? There's no such thing as a brain transference.
Flooding the market with similar body swap comedies. Reinhold said, quote, "It was rough. They kind of buried it." In the 1992 LA Times interview, he also said that Vice Versa's failed release marked the end of his A-list status.
Who's that?
That was really the end of my highfalutin Hollywood career. That's when the phone stopped ringing. Reinhold has recently returned to one of his most famous roles, appearing in a 4th installment of the Beverly Hills Cop franchise, currently streaming on Netflix.
God, I missed you, Axel.
Mike Myers is another example of a celebrity's fluctuating visibility. He dominated the spotlight with the release of 3 Austin Powers films from the late 1990s to the early 2000s, but then virtually disappeared after The Love Guru crash landed, before resurfacing briefly in 2009 in Quentin Tarantino's Inglourious Basterds, and later reprising his Wayne's World character in a Super Bowl commercial for Uber Eats.
Yeah, we'd never shamelessly rely on a celebrity cameo.
Right, Cardi B?
Yeah, eat local.
Rounding out our examples of Hollywood careers gone astray, the late great Burt Reynolds, who starred in countless films and TV shows throughout his long career, talked about the disastrous critical and commercial reaction to his 1975 musical fiasco, At Long Last Love, directed by Peter Bogdanovich, in an interview with Roger Ebert after the film's release.
You're the top.
How can you sing? I'm dizzy.
You're a dancing valley. You're the top. You're a hot tamale.
The reviews on the film were brutal. 90% of them were savage. I started to wonder what these guys were after. A lot of the critics said things like, "How dare Burt Reynolds sing a Cole Porter song?" Well, let me tell you something. I can sing as well as Fred Astaire can act.
It was just one of those things.
You lose your passion in acting. You make too many mistakes. Maybe that's why I make so many movies. If you don't like this one, another one's opening on Tuesday. 2 years after the release of At Long Last Love, Reynolds had the biggest hit of his career with Smokey and the Bandit, which grossed $126 million against a budget of $4.3 million when it opened in May 1977.
Want to do a little pond hopping, Frog?
Swell.
And that brings us to the end of this video. Before we go, here's a quick list of some of the other actors that encountered a speed bump when their movies failed at the box office. What's your favorite Hollywood comeback story? Can you think of other actors who experienced a similar career trajectory to Matthew Lillard or Judge Reinhold? Let us know in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.